Hey buddy, sorry for the kind of late response. I'm slowly realizing why YouTubers talk about hitting that notification bell, because you messaged me and then it was like, I looked for the video, didn't see it, and it didn't pop up yesterday, and I was like, what the heck? And then I went and actually looked at the channel, it was there, and I didn't even, so that's my bad. The social stuff. If it's more, you know what, maybe one thing I missed, an aspect I missed earlier, which is probably a good thing to mention, is, and you know this, maybe not explicitly, but intuitively, because you're socially aware, unlike me, I have to think of things explicitly, is expectations. Exceeding expectations is one of the best things you can do, and missing expectations is one of the worst things you can do. It's just kind of one of those things where that's like either really good or really bad. And so if I see what you mean, where if people are kind of expecting to be higher and you're kind of saying, no, sorry, like you're the degree of separation, you're just maybe a number, a class, graduation date kind of thing, that breaking can probably feel really, really bad. In which case, I do have good advice for this. And I can't believe I'm giving you social advice, because this is not how things work. But if this is like a frequent occurrence, especially if it's that specific move, you know, the environment is pretty standardized because you're always kind of talking to the same people, that kind of stuff, or it's kind of the same situation, is like literally like kind of craft out like the ideal response to like temper people's expectations in kind of like a coddling way. You have that opportunity. It'll be like slight adjustments here and there, but like you can test it out. This is kind of a general rule too, if you want to like be funny, or it's the same kind of idea where it's like if you're in these same situations or you want to make these jokes, you can build it, and then depending on the situation, like, basically like, you know, it's a little bit more like an algorithmic response of like, oh, hey Carson, you know, blah, blah, here's how my day, like they chat about stuff, and you kind of, the dialogue tree kind of exists. You have the script. It's how it's, you know, how good debate works too. So that's always fun. But you like literally build out the dialogue tree of how these things typically go. You'll see patterns and you'll figure out. And I 100%, one thing, this might just be me, maybe you can do it a little better in your head, but I find like actually writing stuff down on paper is such a game changer for this kind of stuff. So literally like writing down, someone will come up to you who you don't know, or you maybe like you should know but don't, and then they like say, hey Carson, you know, blah 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 blah, here's my day, here's like, how are you doing, how's the prez stuff, blah blah, like, and like here's response. It's like they kind of hit that bubble, and then you move to your response, which is, oh hey. Or, you know, if it's a name problem that you're missing, see if you can get through the conversation without saying their name. It feels a little bad because I know saying people's names is really kind of a good thing socially, keeps it nice and personal. You know the person, that feels really good from the other person's perspective. So not doing it, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, you can kind of conceptualize that beforehand, and it produces that distance in a, like, it's not, you're not exceeding expectations, but you're also not breaking them. You're just saying hi, because if they're coming up to you, usually you can get away with not actually ever needing to use their name. These are the kinds of thoughts you should be having. In that case, you might be able to get away with broadening your tier 5 stuff, because it's a lot more dialogue tree, a lot more one thing you have to remember, and it will feel impersonal, especially depending on how long these interact. If you're having these like 20-30 minute conversations with people, it can feel a little awkward, especially if depending on the kind of person. But I think that's just kind of the burden that you don't have to deal with for this kind of stuff. But dialogue treeing it out, big thing. That might be super helpful. It's a little bit robotic, but it definitely works for ideal responses, which is good, because now you seem socially adept. The motivation stuff, yeah, that kind of feels bad in terms of breaking out. You're right, I'm a one desk kind of guy. I sit at my chair, I eat there, I play there, I do schoolwork there, I do hobbies there. It is the same chair in the same position in the same lighting at all times a day. So in that regard, I am failing across the board. But I'm pretty resourceful when it comes to exceeding expectations, and I don't know if I can change that in the near future. Unfortunately, I don't. It's rough, because there are things I want to do and there are things I like to have a certain way, and I don't know, the barrier on that might just be too high for the time being. It might change in the near future. Like, and by near I mean like post-graduation. So I've got like another year of this sort of thing, maybe a year and a bit, depending on how long it takes me to move out. And once that happens, I can, you know, have a lot more freedom on the environment in my life. That being said, that doesn't stop me from affecting other aspects of my life from an environmental standpoint. That now, obviously, I'm trying to go from like an 8 out of 10 in these areas to a 10 out of 10, and leaving that environment one at like a 2. So it's not the most efficient. I think that's just kind of how things are right now from a practical standpoint, which is okay. We can work with. I can work with that. But the one thing I actually want to get your opinion on is, as you kind of said, it's a little bit unhealthy to like constantly fill your time. Got to go from the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. I want to get your opinion on, in general, on maybe like unhealthy motivation, or unhealthy systems in general, like unhealthy fuel sources, unhealthy motivational fuel sources, unhealthy kind of like, this is so doing something negative to net a positive in terms of like net outcome. But it's like, oh, I got, you know, all my schoolwork done for the week today in an 8-hour Monster fueled or Red Bull fueled, whatever. Like, I just slammed 3 of them, was jittery all day, but like I got everything done. I was able to focus, I was able to slam it out, like high level, like that kind of stuff. That's kind of probably more the way I do it. With you know, as you kind of described, you fill your day up really aggressively, and so you're always just compelled to do something, using inertia, realistically, psychological inertia, which is a very interesting phenomenon. To like force yourself to just, you know, always be doing something. And I would agree, both of these, I think mine's maybe, I don't know which one's worse actually, in terms of the negative side of the equation. But your positive side's way bigger than mine, so, you know, we'll see. But yeah, the negative fuel source, kind of for the motivational stuff. In general, like as a general rule, just your thoughts on it. And then for a new topic, I had a lovely computer ethics class this morning, talked about tools, ChatGPT, and bias. So that was kind of a banger. And I swear, we were looking at some software that was supposed to eradicate kind of human bias from the hiring process. And some of this software, I look at that and I go, that's garbage. It's so overcomplicated. Why are you doing the things that you're doing? So I'm convinced I could do better. But once again, that motivation comes into play. So listen, I need to externalize some of this. So I'm conscripting you to join me on a personal project this summer to create it'll be very relatively simple. I'm kind of conceptualizing this right now to just create a system that can remove bias. And I'm thinking like literally it'll be simple, like name bias, and maybe like geographical bias. There are a few biases we can target that are like pretty well defined from a hiring standpoint. I think we can easily do better. A nice little virtue signaling resume booster, if you will. Not virtue, I guess it's for a good cause. It's a little bit virtue signaling, especially as 2 white guys. It's a little funny, but I think like just something that can like read through like PDFs and Word documents and just be smart enough to remove names. That'll actually be a very interesting, recognizing proper nouns of names and then replacing it with lorem ipsum. That'd be cool. I think that'll be a very interesting project, and you can get some social cred for that one. So you're being conscripted, because Lord knows I'll spend 8 hours on it one day and then never touch it again. Kind of want to go for a little bit more longevity than that, maybe. I think if you're there, it might help out. So that's everything. Hope you're doing well.